Kathy Clowes to you today. It's been a real honour for me to meet her with the work that she does overseas. She's been helping clients, women and children and couples at Front Royal Pregnancy Centre since 1998. So after 8 years as a peer counsellor, Kathy became the director in 2006. And prior to coming to North Virginia, Kathy advocated for women for 12 years in the Pacific Northwest. She oversees staff and volunteers each day. And because she likes to see her clients thrive, she regularly counsels clients in challenging circumstances. Kathy has an MS in psychology and a bachelor's in biology. She enjoys reading current research in healthcare, and Kathy's given dozens of talks in dozens of countries on 4 continents with Human Life International. She's married to Brian Clowes, and together they have 7 adult children, all of whom are pro-life activists. So please join me in welcoming Kathy.
So hi, I'm Kathy Clowes. I'm married to Brian. We have 6 adult children. We have 5 sons and a daughter. We have 6 grandchildren on Earth. We had a granddaughter born at 30 weeks who's in heaven, Phoebe Leilani, Flower of Heaven. Brian and I got involved in pro-life first with picketing, then sidewalk counseling, then we were involved in the rescue movement. That tells you how old we are. And finally, Brian was called to work for Human Life International, so he says he's a fallen away engineer. I began to volunteer and then later run the local pregnancy center. In the beginning, there was no staff. Now I have an amazing staff with 4 full-time and 1 half-time person, and they're very gifted in their particular roles. Along the way, we homeschooled our 6 kids, and I was really fortunate to get a psychology degree from Divine Mercy U because it was the integration of Catholic philosophy, theology, and psychology, so it was all the best. And basically what I found out was what we were already doing was what we needed to do for these women to help them thrive. And the thing to remember is a person will do well if they have one person affirming them and helping them in their life. You don't have to be a psychiatrist, you don't have to be a psychologist. If you're that one affirming person and stand by them and be their support group until their family rallies, that's going to save babies and moms. Let's see. So our pregnancy center is in a county of 50,000. We have 6,000 Catholic parishioners. We have a Catholic Christendom College and Seton Homeschool. It's just a hotbed of Catholic centers there. But then in the secular part of town, we have lots of drug issues, lots of drug addictions. So we have the 2 cultures meeting there. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how our center grew from a tiny little place, and then the nature of our work, how it's challenged by chemical abortion. That's a very big thing right now. How we reach abortion-tempted women, our marketing, and our counseling approach. So our local center has grown over the years. The biggest impact, without question, was adding ultrasound in 2013 and adding staff. So with God's help, as you attract people with the heart and talent to do the work, the impact will grow. So in the beginning, the center was outside of town, inside a construction office. I wasn't there then. We didn't move there yet. And nobody could find them. So they moved. And so this first picture is the teeny tiny little place where we were first. You're assuming I know what button.
Arrows down. Oh, there you go.
Yep, that's up.
Is it showing?
Yes. Hit another one.
One more.
One more.
Yep.
There you go. You got it.
So you see the big white house? That was not us. The tiny little bumped out part on the side of that house, that was it. That was our center. 2 tiny rooms, 1 tiny bathroom, no room for any baby stuff. So we suffered with that for a while. And then we moved to a windowless office with no sign. And one of the priests joked that by the time the women found the place, they would have already had the baby. So then we moved to this beautiful old house, classy house, giant lobby. And what you need for counseling is not a giant lobby and 2 tiny counseling rooms with 1 bathroom. What you need is counseling rooms. So, and my big memory from that house is we used to have a priest come pray, do mass for us when the clients were not there. And when the clients would come the next day, they would say, "It's very peaceful here." And it was because we had mass there the day before. The trouble was you had to walk in the rafters and empty a bucket of rainwater because the roof leaked. So luckily we moved away from there. And now this is our building. It doesn't look like a lot because it's a narrow profile in the front, but it's fairly big inside. We moved there, and now we have 3 counseling rooms, an ultrasound room, a kitchen. We just added a 2nd floor. Let's see, I lost my place. So our current space is bigger, allowed us to rebuild the inside to make 3 counseling rooms and later the ultrasound room. The National and local Knights of Columbus together bought us our portable ultrasound machine, and we built a room for the ultrasound and trained a nurse to do scans. 7 years later, we had to replace our little tiny portable machine because they didn't make the transducers anymore. And then we replaced it with a full-size Volusin P8, which is a fantastic full-size machine, same as they use in the local giant hospital. Anyway, it gets exquisitely good images, no snowflake effect. The addition of the ultrasound made our client numbers go up 4-fold. So we saw close to 400 women last year, and now when we added ultrasound, we're a real medical clinic operating under the license of a medical doctor. The medical doctor reads our scans. He doesn't have to be there. Everything's done electronically. So having the ability to offer a free ultrasound made a compelling reason for a pregnant woman to come back. In those first years, a law came through in Virginia that required women to have an ultrasound before abortion. So that was great because our ultrasound were free and the abortion clinics were charging $150, $200 for an ultrasound, and plus not showing them what they saw on the screen. So we started doing, I mean, you can have a baby with no heartbeat and they don't tell the woman, and then she pays for her abortion. So our sonograms were free, and we started to see lots of women coming because, you know, a pregnancy test doesn't really give you that feeling of, am I really pregnant or not? So we do not do their ongoing prenatal care, but we offer all sorts of practical and counseling support and friendship, diapers, formula, and supplies, and baby's clothes till they're wearing size 3. So typically, an abortion-minded woman would request an appointment via our website, and then we call them and confirm, and then they'd come in and they would sit down in one of our counseling rooms. That's our lobby. That's one of our counseling rooms. We got 3 of those. So they'd come and spend an hour with a counselor in one of the counseling rooms, and then we take lots of notes, find out what are her concerns. They often know nothing about chemical abortion. And we can explain to them, we're a medical clinic, you're considering a medical procedure, so we're ethically obligated to let you know what are your options and what are your alternatives, which includes us being your support group for the next 3 years. So then we come back for the ultrasound. You can see that they don't have to crane their neck. They have a big screen on the wall. This screen, when it turns on, says "Life is good." And then this is our ultrasound machine. It's magnificent. This is one of my young ladies who is our first ever full-time client services person. She quit working for a law office because she wanted something more meaningful, and that's a lot of hilarious things have ensued. All right. So unfortunately, Virginia got a pro-abortion governor after that, and he eliminated the requirement for ultrasound. He also eliminated that it needed to be a doctor to do the abortion. And so we were worried, are they still going to come for ultrasound? And yes, they do. Because everything in our website recommends to them why it's important to know, are you really pregnant? Is it in the uterus? How far along are you? Is it ectopic? There's lots of reasons why, no matter what you're thinking, you need to know what's going on. So for clarity, let me define a couple terms. So our mission is to give informed consent and counsel to women in unexpected or challenging pregnancies. Our primary client is the abortion-minded woman. She's convinced herself that abortion is the only solution that will get her out of her stress. She's planning on strongly considering abortion. These women need a lot of careful care and a sonogram or even a repeat sonogram while they're deciding. Our next group of clients would be abortion-vulnerable women. These are women who are undecided what to do, or she has special problems and concerns like poverty or housing, and other people are pushing them towards abortion. And so we can usually help them by finding the resources they need so that they don't go to this, drastic solution. The third group, we do see women who do plan to carry, and they're very poor. They're having a hard time getting to a doctor. We just get them started and help them with all the things they need during the pregnancy and teach them all sorts of lessons all through pregnancy so they can earn free things. Now, we know that the media says we only care about the baby before the baby's born, but there's a phenomenon happening right now. With inflation high because of our president, and some other artificial shortages happening, like baby formula shortage, food costs rising, our donors, who are mostly average families, have continued to amaze us with meeting the growing needs. So we're being flooded with women who are challenged by the inflation and really debating whether to have another baby. But our donors have come out in force to support. So the word gets out that we do care about the babies after they're born. And so lower income women are more likely to carry. A lot of things are free for anything they want. So like baby clothes, diapers, formula, mountains of this stuff we give out all the time. And then they can earn big things by going to lessons. So how do we reach the abortion tempted? So I'm going to be using the term chemical abortion instead of medical abortion because medical makes it sound like it's legitimate care, which it is not. I also think we should refer to it as a home alone abortion, to remind people that this method of abortion is not about safety. It's about having more abortions happen. So no matter what your role is in pro-life, we have to be aware that women are being rushed and do rush into early abortion. So we need to be ready to intervene at a first hint that they're considering abortion. Now, I keep going off script, but for those of you who want to pray, praying is more important than ever. Ultrasounds are great, technology is great, websites are great, but unless someone's praying for them to come in that short amount of time between when they freak out that they're pregnant and when they make a decision, the window of opportunity for us is less. They're rushing into it. And so prayers by people generally are extremely important. So many people have asked, what has been your experience in the United States since the fall of Roe versus Wade? So I want to give a comment. So in anticipation of the Dobbs decision on June 24th, 2022, this is a Supreme Court decision that abortion is not in our Constitution. Many pro-life groups got out ahead of the media outrage, so the media had a major temper tantrum. They were just freaking out everywhere. And the pro-lifers got out ahead of them and said, the pro-life people will be there for you. We are going to be the net. We are going to be there for you. You're not going to have no options. And they did media campaigns and all of that. You're not going to be without help. And despite the high inflation and the formula shortage, our Christian community has come out really strong. They're coming out of the woodwork to help. Another interesting development, interesting is a funny word for it, the national media had every single day daily stories slamming pregnancy centers as these awful woman-hating deceptive groups, you know, saying that pregnancy centers were bad, they weren't real clinics, they're telling bad information, all this kind of stuff. So, but instead, more people than ever heard about pregnancy centers. And so more people are coming to us, and more of them are at risk. And so what they intended for evil did not turn out that way. So instead of doing an average of maybe 3 ultrasounds in a week, we've been doing lately up to 8 or 9 a week. And we might see 30 women in a week, but of course that's for different things, you know, baby supplies, pregnancy test, ultrasound, all sorts of things. Every day is a new surprise. The more at-risk women we see every week, the more experience everybody gets. So we started as a staff praying that God would send us the women that need us most. So we all gathered together and we're like, "Dear Lord, please send us the women who need us most." Well, that is a dangerous prayer. So, and it fell to me. So one day, and this never happened, one day a woman showed up and she said she had an appointment, and we were puzzled because it was not on our schedule. So my staff offered her water, and she said, "Oh no, I was told not to eat or drink before I came for my chemical abortion pills." So my sweet little staff, that beautiful Teresa that you saw, she comes to me and she says, "Kathy, I put her in room B." So I figured, well, transparency, right? So I went in, I introduced myself, and I said, "There's some confusion. We're glad you're here, but we don't do abortions. However, we can give you thorough informed consent and an ultrasound before you decide." And she stayed. We had a nice little conversation. She came back for ultrasound, and she has a baby girl. So what we think happened is that her boyfriend called lots of different places. He found her an actual appointment somewhere, but she didn't go to that place. She came to our place. So we were thinking, oh, asking God to send us one, it's going to work. So do we keep doing it? Anyway, another time a young girl was brought to us by a friend, and she said her boyfriend had made her an abortion appointment for the next day. She didn't know where it was. She didn't know who was doing it. She didn't know what kind it was. But he was going to take her to this abortion appointment. And we're like, "Tell us more." And she said, "Well, he had argued with me for hours and hours and hours, and after 3 or 4 hours of this, I agreed. And now he says that I'll be disloyal if I don't go ahead and do this." And we're like, okay, that's not real consent. And so we talked to her about what is consent, and she's the one that's going to have the biggest impact of whatever happens. And so lots of conversations later, she made herself scarce the day that he was going to drive her. And now she's got a plump little baby girl. She dumped the die, and she's doing better. So God does send people in answer to prayer. So please pray for the abortion-minded women to find their way to somebody who will steer them along the right path. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One is, maybe should I be talking faster, I guess? What abortion-minded women are, what stresses there are, how you can talk to them, what is the biggest problem with the abortion pill in the U.S., and practical strategies. So, what are abortion-minded women thinking? Well, crisis pregnancy intervention is counseling in a situation of crisis. And so keep in mind that the first thing that happens in a crisis is suddenly they can't think outside the box. So it's like they're in a pit and they just want the stress to stop. They're in a hurry to stop the stress and they think abortion is the quickest end to the stress. Building or walks away with a paper bag of pills, she's on her own. We once had a woman call us, and she was hysterical. She had called Planned Parenthood, who had given her the abortion pills, and she asked them, how do I know this is complete? How do I know if I need to go to the hospital? And their answer was, you're probably okay. And so that's not care. That's not care no matter what. So we arranged for her to be seen by an OBGYN group. Most of the time, the women have serious reasons to consider abortion, though of course it's never a healthy or natural choice. It's the death of an innocent child. Occasionally, a woman may have what you think is a kind of a selfish reason to choose abortion, or very naive. Nevertheless, you can only protect the baby if you find ways to be empathetic to her, the woman, as a person. You're not condoning her temptation. You're treating her with respect so that she can hear herself and realize she deserves better. So no matter what your role, keep in mind that compassion and a sincere desire to understand her heart will take you very far. Even without knowledge of abortion methods or having a solution to her problems, she first needs to know to not feel alone and know that she is not a burden. She needs compassionate regard and a listening ear. Women who choose life are women who come to realize they are strong enough. So encouragement and affirming her strengths are very important. Above all, a woman needs to know you think she's strong enough to overcome the challenges. So she needs accompaniment and encouragement to look at the less drastic options, because women deserve better than abortion. So, talking really faster than normal, we're asked, what kind of language do you use to talk to a woman who's tempted by abortion? Well, again, most people worry about what are they going to say. The primary goal, though, should be to be actively listening so that you hear not just her thoughts, but her perspective. If you first understand how she's seeing the situation, you're far better able to help her find a solution to her crisis. Now, the Sisters of Life, they specialize in counseling abortion-minded women. They call this emptying the bucket. So they get the woman to just tell her story, tell her whole story, all her fears, all her embarrassment, how she feels betrayed. And once she's been heard, she's more willing to see you can be trusted. You see her, you care about her, you're not seeing her as a problem to solve. The sisters say that women have 5 primary fears. They fear they're all alone, they're not enough, it's all up to her, there's no room for the baby in the heart of the father of the baby, there's no room for the baby in the hearts of the family members. And so this is why we become her family, her support group. So if this is a young woman who's afraid to tell her parents, well, you help her choose who she wants to go with her to tell her parents. Or even better, oftentimes young women will not tell their parents until they've got the ultrasound picture in hand and are able to say, I already know where I'm going to go for a doctor. I know where I can earn things for the baby. I have a plan. And then it's easier to tell the parents. Young women might not see themselves as having children that early, so it's an identity challenge. So if you're the first person to hear that a woman has an unexpected pregnancy, please don't say, oh no. You have to, because she might take her cue from your reaction, so you have to be positive, be encouraging. It's not 1820. Let her know that her life can still be good. In fact, when women choose to carry, they often later say, and I've heard this so many times, and I'm sure you have heard it too, they say, I didn't save my baby saved me. And they mean, I suddenly have serious reasons to improve my life and think about what I'm doing and where I'm going and be a role model for this little boy or girl. So, so some approaches would be, so the baby brings out the best in them. So some things you can say to a person, I'm here for you, I want to understand where you're coming from, you're not alone, there are people who can find resources for you. Let's see if there's less traumatic ways to solve the problem. You deserve to take the time to consider the long-term effects of your different choices. Now, I highly recommend that you go to the Sisters of Life website. They've created 12 short videos explaining how they counsel women. It's called Into Life. And it's excellent. So these little videos are like 12 minutes long each. So in one afternoon, you can see how the sisters treat the women and how beautifully they do. So that's sistersoflife.org. Click on media and then Into Life. Now, what's the particular challenge of the abortion pill regimen? To understand what we're up against, we have to consider the huge impact of the marketing of chemical abortion and how it changes the timeline available for us to act. And this makes prayer even more important. Although in the US, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, they fast-tracked chemical abortion in the year 2000. Most abortions in the US were the early surgical abortions at abortion clinics. However, recently, chemical abortions have become the dominant form of early abortion. It affects the timeline of how quickly we need to respond to women who are tempted. So several years ago, women in Virginia figured they had about 13 weeks to obtain an abortion, and so they were sort of slower to respond. Some places in Virginia do second trimester abortion, and some awful places in DC do third trimester. But those are uncommon. Many would come to us thinking they were 5 weeks along, and actually they turn out to be 8 or 9. So at that time, when the limit of chemical abortion was 7 weeks for safety, we'd get them in there and we'd be like, oh, please let them be more than 7 weeks. And they would be more than 7 weeks, and we would say, you're too far along for chemical. Surgical would be required, and they would decide to have the baby. However, now the FDA has foolishly allowed chemical abortion to 10 weeks, and some abortion clinics are openly advertising to 11 weeks. And so they can still do chemical abortion, although the failure rate, which means infection rate, goes up with every week past 7. At the same time, women are using apps to help them notice that they're late on their period right away, and they rush in to choose what they think is simply taking a pill when the baby is in their mind not a real baby yet. Now, especially since Dobbs, the Supreme Court decision, the media in the U.S. has been creating fear that abortion might not be available due to state laws, and so women are rushing into action early. There's been a major push to make abortion by pill easily accessible. No longer is there public or media concern about home-alone abortion. The pro-abortion people are promoting the abortion pill as though it's simple and safe when it is neither. Mail-order abortion provides pills in 4 days in pro-abortion states and pills from India in states where abortion is not allowed. And pills from India might take 4 weeks to arrive. So chemical abortion is dangerous to both the mom, not just the baby. So first of all, it's not a pill. I hear this all the time, the abortion pill. It's not a pill. The first pill is mifepristone, it's anti-progesterone, and it's taken first. The intended purpose is to prevent the embryo from getting nourishment from the lining of the uterus. One side effect is that it's an anti-glucocorticoid, so it lowers the ability of the body to fight infection. All right, is this a bad idea, giving her something that lowers her ability to fight infection? The woman may be told, she might be also told to take anti-nausea pills and several types of over-the-counter pain pills. And then 24 hours later, or 48, she takes 4 pills of misoprostol, which induces labor. This causes contractions and causes the baby to be bled out. So she can have profound bleeding without any training to know how much bleeding is too much or whether the pain is indicating a complication like toxic shock or incomplete abortion or ectopic pregnancy. She might miss that. Without a physical exam and a history taken before taking the pills, she might be wrong on how far along she is. And this can mean she's further along than she thought, which can lead to an incomplete abortion, which is the risk for infection. Some women mistake some implantation bleeding for a period, and then they misjudge how far along they are by a full month. Without certain blood tests, women can develop complications that can affect their next pregnancies. For instance, a lot of women don't know they're Rh negative, and they're not getting a RhoGAM shot in their mailed pills from the post office. So that can cause problems later. So if the telemedicine or mail order people tell them to take the second pills by vagina, it increases the risk of infection with a rapid-acting Clostridium sordelii. This has no fever. The push for pharmacies to dispense abortion pills without a doctor visit in the U.S. is now matched by the recent announcement in New Zealand. The National Health Service will do telehealth visit and mail the pills. We had a girl who called an abortion clinic in D.C. they did televisit, and she said the woman in the televisit was in her pajamas. And she thought, this doesn't seem professional. So they did another televisit with somebody who said they were a doctor, and she's like, how do I know she's a doctor? Well, I don't know how you know she's a doctor. You're on video with someone. They mailed her pills. She took the pills. I'm convinced she was never pregnant because not much happened. And then within 2 months of that, she was regretting it and hoping she was still pregnant. Well, I think she was never pregnant. So you have incompetence from one end to the other. So how dangerous is it? The biggest study was 40,000 women in Finland. They had 20,000 women did chemical abortion and 20,000 did surgical abortion. And they looked at the immediate complications only. And the immediate complication rate for medical abortion is actually 4 times higher than the in-clinic abortion. And it was a 20.6% immediate complication rate, predominantly hemorrhage and infection. So, I mean, would you go to a doctor who's going to give you a 1 in 5 chance of needing to go to the ER on your own without any help? I don't know. Now we know abortion clinics in the U.S. and elsewhere are absolutely not set up to handle complications. So if she has a complication, she may not be able to reach them, the abortion clinic. And even so, they'll tell her to go to the ER. Is she able to drive herself? To make matters worse, in the U.S., abortion doctors are advising women to tell the emergency room that they're just having a natural miscarriage, not in fact that they have all these particular medicines in their bloodstream. The challenge of chemical abortion for our pregnancy center in Virginia and anywhere in the U.S. is that we are now seeing many more women rushing into early abortion thinking the baby is not much there. And now in the U.S., although we don't have a National Health Service giving out free mail order pills, we're about to have CVS and Walgreens, 2 nationwide pharmacies, give out pills at the local pharmacy while keeping hidden the doctor who prescribes them. So what's our strategy? So you have to respond fast. So you have to reach her as fast as possible. Because of the ready availability of chemical abortion, they're ready to act fast when the child is small. They can go search for abortion online and call both abortion clinics and pregnancy centers. Whoever answers first may get the client. So the pro-life people have to be the fastest to answer that phone. We have website requests and phone call requests. On our website, they can tell their concern and ask for a preferred appointment time, and we call them back. We have these phone apps on our phones so that we can call them, and they think they're getting called from our center because maybe it's Saturday or maybe it's Sunday, and we can catch them pretty quickly. So if they call the center, we can schedule an appointment right away. There was a research paper that showed that abortion clinics put them on hold on the phone, but pregnancy centers answer them right away. Abortion clinics might delay them for at least a full week before they get an appointment, which means they're getting further along. But our center can usually schedule them within a couple days or even the same day. And sometimes when they call, they say, which one are you? Which is our way of knowing that they've called all sorts of places. And they're surprised to get a live person. And so when we have them on the phone, we're telling them why ultrasound is important and it's free. And they're usually very interested in that. So we just did something that's, I think, is going to be awesome. So we're Heartbeat affiliated, and Heartbeat did a podcast explaining that if she's looking online for abortion, you want to be findable for her looking for abortion. And so what they recommended was that you have a page designed, and it's called pre-abortion consultation. So the pre-abortion consultation, you should look it up on our website. It's amazing. So the pre-abortion consultation, it says right on there, we don't do abortions, but it's important for you to know various things, and you'll get a medical evaluation of pregnancy. You'll talk to a nurse. You'll have an ultrasound. The doctor will review your chart. You'll have all your answers, your questions answered. And it's a big draw for women to have free, unlimited time with a nurse to ask their questions. So, of course, it made some people nervous that we were putting something on a website that said pre-abortion consultation. But that's what we've been doing anyway. They come to us and they're consulting us before they decide. So it's just a matter of language. My favorite sentence is, whether you've already ordered the pills or already planned an abortion appointment, you should come for a consultation and get a private one-on-one with our nurse before you decide. And I've spoken to other people who have done this, and they're reporting that it is attracting abortion-minded women, and they're changing their minds. Because their image of pro-life people is not what we actually are. When they actually get treated with a lot of respect and professionalism, you know, it changes hearts. Let's see. A word about abortion pill reversal. So abortion pill reversal, I'm not going to be here all night. I'm almost one page to go. Abortion pill reversal. There's 1,100 doctors in the world who are able to give progesterone as an antidote to that first pill. We have one in our little town of Front Royal, and so I'm very happy to hear that you're going to have a doctor here willing to do abortion pill reversal. Ooh, thank you. Wow. And there are 5,000 children in the United States that are walking around born whose mothers changed their mind and they had successful reversal. It's about 70% successful. Our experience with abortion pill reversal has been amazing. We had a woman who regretted taking her first pill. She had 2 sons. She went to the abortion clinic, not sure why, swallowed the first pill at the abortion clinic. By the time she got to the parking lot, she had regretted it. And the abortion pill hotline, people say, this is common, that it's as though they're blind until they swallow it, but once they swallow it, they suddenly realize what a terrible thing has just happened. And then they're desperate for a solution. She had no idea there was a solution, and she went looking online, and she found the abortion pill reversal hotline. And the nurses there connected her to our local doctor, who was the doctor closest to her. He did FaceTime with her. He ordered progesterone by mouth at her local Walmart. She took a few days of that, and then I got a call on a Saturday from a doctor, which never happens. And he said, can you do ultrasound in a couple days? And we did her ultrasound after she had like 3 days of progesterone. There's a beautiful little heartbeat there. And then a week later, we did another ultrasound. There was another beautiful heartbeat. And she's thrilled out of her mind. And at about 20 weeks of pregnancy, she came back and said, it's a boy after having 2 girls. So she's showing us, look, it's a boy. So very, very grateful. So now, and this is a suggestion, we want to get the word out about abortion pill reversal, because of course the other side is saying it's nonsense, it doesn't work, it's not science, blah, blah, blah. So we have these, I didn't bring it up here, but they have abortion pill reversal cards. They're brilliant fuchsia colored. And we've been putting it in the packet for every pregnant woman that comes to our place. And we just explain to her, you know, like, oh, I see you're not thinking about abortion, but we're trying to get the word out that this is an option for women who take that first pill and change their mind. And usually the reaction of the women is like, oh, that's very cool that you're still offering them an option after taking the first pill. So, let me see. So what are the clients saying? So they're surprised they get a live person calling them back. They're very happy that they know that a nurse will tell them the truth. Nurses are the most trusted profession around. And they can see the scan for themselves, so nothing is hidden. And sometimes they come for more than one ultrasound because they're debating and debating and debating. And once in a while, on the second or third scan, there's no longer a heart. What has happened is they just had a natural miscarriage, but they didn't go, they would have gone to the abortion clinic, they would have aborted her when it wasn't needed. So, and it makes a profound impression on them when they think they're going to decide will it live or die, and they see this perfect form of a baby and there's no heartbeat. It has a big effect. I don't think they'll ever think of an unborn baby the same way when they've seen their own. A couple other strategies. We started doing radio. So we did a 30-second ad that does not mention the word abortion, but it's basically saying, come talk to us in a nice, safe environment. We put it on the most popular station, not the most Christian. And then after that, we started advertising on Spotify and Pandora, where they can click directly on our website. This is bringing us a lot of abortion-minded women. So, please pray for the women who take calls from abortion-minded women. This is probably the most difficult role, is women who take those calls, because you don't have your face and your gestures, you don't have face-to-face with them. You're on the phone with them, and you have to do the best you can to get them to come in. So pray for those women who are doing that. We just established an atmosphere of compassion and respect, encourage them to tell their whole story, or particular concerns. You don't rush in with advice. You have to listen. Timing is everything. Clarify your understanding what she meant. Restraint is critical. It's better to wait for the right moment before you can comment. But once you've established trust, you can help her make a plan for the next step. Now, I didn't bring it, but there's a book called Pregnancy Crisis Intervention, What to Do and Say When It Matters Most. Sorry. It tells a sequence of events and a visit to a pregnancy center and what your role is. It's a little yellow book. It's probably $8. It's one of the best I've ever seen. I'll bring it back down for people to see it later. I highly recommend it. It would be good for anybody to read about how to go through the whole sequence with someone. It's very practical. Anyway, in summary, pregnancy centers welcome the women, hear her story, find resources for her, become her support group, and then we see them bring the baby. That's my favorite part, bringing the baby. I think I want to tell you one quick story. So one quick story. We had a young lady come and she was talking about abortion because she had a 3-month-old baby. And so the other volunteers knew about this. They knew she was in a room talking about, oh, I can't handle it. I got a 3-month-old. And so this was at Christmas time, and so we called our little volunteers, we called them like the elves. They were running around gathering all the best baby girl clothes, all the best diapers, all the best this, that, and the other. And when she came out of the room with an ultrasound appointment, we gave her all this stuff for the baby girl in her arms. And of course she came back for the ultrasound. And she's been one of our happiest clients. She comes every week for baby supplies, a big smile on her face, and now the baby's smiling. And I think the baby's smiling because the mother's always smiling, you know? Anyway, I thank you for all of your work for pro-life. I encourage you to pray that women who need our help will find their way to a pro-life center or person. I congratulate all of you on your dedication, and remember that every baby born is a lifelong joy to a family changed by your love. Thank you.